What is poppin'? It is the Slapton. I am but a lowly Slapton riding these DeFi waves, ReFi waves. And this is This Week in ReFi, where we give you all of the ReFi news that is fit to go ape wild over. And by we, I mean myself and the man with the plan, the Estonian math man, the man with a tan because he was on vacation, Rez.
Hello, it's me, also tan. Huh?
Actually, yeah, you get a little bit colorful.
Mildly. Yeah, it's been a nice sunny time in Estonia, so I have gotten a few rays. It's nice.
Now on your vacation, have you reached any epiphanies? Have you acquired any new knowledge about the world or yourself? Did you find time to
Oh,
reflect?
yes, I'm well, one thing I've realized is that ever since I started getting ADHD medication, I have really been enjoying writing. So as part of my vacation hobby, I'm currently writing like a case study on how liquidity chains affect price movements, which is, I think, like a really esoteric topic, which maybe is going to interest like 100 people at best.
Man, you go on vacation for 2 days, you pop some Ritalin, and you're changing the course of economics. There you have it. There you have it. So hey, changing the course of economics is the segue into my favorite thing to talk about going on this podcast that we do, which is hey, times are tough, right? Money's short, gas prices have never been higher, and people are looking for work. And well, I have a place for you where you can do well and good at the same time. You can make money while making an impact. It is a curated job board. It is free to join, and these are all regenerative finance jobs to make sure that you're value aligned with the job that you procure. I will leave a link to this. There's no cost to you to join. I highly encourage everybody to join. Take a look. More jobs are popping off every week. They are curated. They are high quality. For instance, Rez, have you ever wanted to be a product design lead?
That sounds super cool. I used to do product design a very long time ago.
Well, if you wanted to get back into it, you could apply to Return Protocol's product design lead, which went live. That job, I believe, went live today. I think I approved it today, or it was approved over the weekend. So
So
there you have it, man. But it's not just technical, it's community growth. It's anything. If you have any skills, any interest in regenerative finance, take a look at this. But without further ado, let's get into the first regenerative finance story that we will cover, which is joint HFC-23 cleanup operation with Klima DAO. Estonian math man, you are the perfect person to ask. Give us the background, explain it for us. What do we got here?
yeah, so a very, very long time ago, when Klima DAO and Toucan launched together, their only entry criteria in order to bring carbon on-chain from the Vera registry was that the credit had to have a vintage, which means the emissions event happened during some year, of 2008 or newer. That was the only criteria. If you were Vera certified and had a vintage of 2008, you can bring that carbon credit on chain, you can turn it into BCT, and you can make money off of it. So that's the basis over at which we launched. What we ended up seeing later on was just the fact that Vera has some credits that no one really wanted to buy because historically there were some like sketchy accounting problems. And the main topic here are these credits we refer to as HFC-23, which is a gas that is used in refrigerators that is thousands of times more polluting than CO2. So what we do in carbon accounting is that if we are working with a greenhouse gas that is worse for the environment than CO2, we convert that into CO2 equivalent units. So for HFC-23, the multiple was thousands. And there were factories that all they had to do was just start burning this material instead of letting it go into the air, destroying it. And they made money off of it. So, huge multiple, great earning opportunity. Very sketchy shit started happening like straight out the gate. So I'm pretty sure this happened, but there were like some paper factories, essentially like on paper factories set up, and then started creating the gas just to like destroy it immediately after. So it was like a whole cottage industry of not like doing a lot. And because the carbon credits created this perverse incentive, it started distorting the market. So Vera put an end to issuing these kind of credits, but the ones that were still created, these were allowed to circulate in the market and ended up in the BCT pool eventually, which was not good. And they've been there for a very long time because necessarily no one should really use them for retiring, or that's the general market view at this point.
In the off-chain markets, these HFC-23s, they did exist, but there was a gentleman's agreement or gentle person's agreement that they would not be traded. They were not taken seriously as voluntary credits. So they did not have a place in the ecosystem, and they found a home when the BCT product was launched, which was a gating problem, right? With the quality control of BCT was, it happens. It's not, I don't think it was malicious. I think it was oversight, and it happens when you're building new products. But so
definitely,
to date, go ahead.
Yeah. When there was like the discovery that this like large amount of HFC-23 credits had come on chain, then everybody reacted actually quite fast. It was less than a week before like the loophole was essentially shut down. But before that point, I think 600,000 tons or something in that area made their way on chain.
672,248.9993 are the total number. Yeah, closer to 700,000. So what this proposal is proposing, it would be to split that number in half, and then Klima and Toucan can share the burden of disposing of those credits, essentially removing them from circulation, and that would be the end of the HFC-23 drama, which is good for both protocols, particularly, good for both protocols, because then that FUD can't circulate anymore around these two protocols, and it's, I would say, it's the right thing to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because the way BCT works is if you don't want to pay a premium, you do have to take a random credit out of BCT and retire it. That's how this works. But you don't necessarily want to be the person actually retiring an HFC-23 credit. So that creates like a very weird situation of like, am I willing to use this or not? It's kind of hard to answer.
Right. So if you were Res and you wanted to offset your footprint, and you didn't want to specify which TCO2 that you wanted to specifically claim, and you just went by the default, right? You let the system determine for you. It is possible that you'd be offsetting your footprint with HFC-23, and that wouldn't make you feel very good because you know that it isn't valid as far as I'm concerned or you're concerned, right?
It has problems.
Yeah. So there you have it. That's in the government forum. I'll leave a link to that. If you, who can vote on this? I believe everybody can, right? If you log in.
Toucan's governance board is like poll more than anything. It doesn't really require you to own any tokens. It's just a forum.
There you go. So you can opine on that. Very cool. The next one, dude. Another res story, a perfect res story, is Solid World DAO and Emsurge. Give us the rundown, math man.
Yes. So at Solid World DAO, we're building the infrastructure to support a nice forward market for carbon credits, which is, how do we make sure there's enough funding going into carbon credits that don't exist yet? And on the other hand, we have Emsurge, Mstream, who are this very interesting forward-looking organization that's essentially like a virtual broker. They help buyers and sellers in the voluntary carbon market find each other. And that's their main focus of their software, is how do you post like kind of unstructured offers that describe what you're trying to sell and make sure someone actually finds that who would want to buy. And the partnership is essentially long-term. We would like to create more visibility into potential like forward deals, and how do you get into that?
I think of it as like a Match.com, like a dating dating app for creators and funders, really, right? Isn't it more like funders and projects?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, very cool stuff, man. So that's great for Solid World DAO. It sounds like. That you have a virtual marketplace, man.
Yes.
Everything's coming up rosy for for the math man. You got a tan, you got good solid world news. It's just unbelievable. You got
Yeah,
a newfound
I'm having
passion
a
for
good
writing.
summer.
Yeah, can you pass
Yeah.
some of that forward to the macro market? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Let's go. All right. Another cool story is Open Forest Protocol platform. They just received support from Block0. Block0 is a Singapore-based crypto-centric digital asset backer, which basically means investment firm, and they are getting behind Open Forest Protocol. Open Forest Protocol, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, is really involved in MRV, measurement, reporting, and verification of data, regenerative finance data.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's always good
About
to see.
forest.
You know,
Yeah.
it's hard to get money right now, Rez.
Yeah.
Now I know that again, you guys, Solid World just had a nice raise round. Is that fair to say? So
Yeah. We have runway. We're
good,
we're good.
good. But I was just in a founder circle that turned into a funding circle, and it was a bunch of regenerative finance founders talking about the challenge of getting money from VCs, and just in general, money's tight. So
Yep.
when it's good to see this, the story's encouraging and positive. I think what it shows is there's still money out there, and
Hmm.
you know, it's just a matter of building a good product. People
Yeah.
always give money to good products, and
Well, yeah, that's part of it. The other half of it, I think, is it's kind of a numbers game at some point.
yep,
But yeah, there surely is like someone looking to invest. The more of a discussion always is what's the price? Like how much am I paying for what exactly?
that's right.
So that
Valuations,
part
right?
of the market really like comes down in like bear markets.
So
So like
you see that a
yeah.
lot, right? You're seeing companies that raised in the full on bull run. Had
Hmm.
a valuation of $5 billion. Now their next raise right now is like a valuation of like 100 million, and they just have to accept the fact that their valuation has gone down with market sentiment. But that's all. What can you do? That's what it is,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. Also, having a down round is something that investors really, really, really don't like. So that's like a death blow generally for startups. It's
right.
at least in like traditional startup land, having a down round. Oof.
That's
Mm.
true. But at the same time, I would hope that if you're investing in these crypto projects and you have some background in the market, you understand the volatility. That it's not the project's fault that they're having a down round. It's like
Yeah.
we just saw
I-
Ethereum.
In this kind of a macro market,
Yeah,
like having any fault for what's happening to your company's valuation is very hard.
right. But the good news is, I mean, you and I are connected enough to projects. There's still building going on. There's still funding happening. The space is still progressing forward, not at the same rate. And I would even argue that's probably a good thing. I think it was completely out of control during the bull run that we had. There were a lot of projects getting money that, I mean, it's hard to justify, and it was a lot of money. And this is the culling, if you will, and we'll see who's strong, right? We'll see which ones are worth funding in the future. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Bear markets are for building. Bull
100%.
markets are for raising.
Bull markets are
That's
for moon
the
boys.
That's also true. Sadly, that is also true.
Avoid those moon boys. All right. So Moss. Next one up is Moss liquidity mining. There's a Moss governance token, which I have some of. Do you have some Moss governance token, Rez? Do you ever
I
come
I
across any?
don't think I ever participated in the like MCO2 holding thing that resulted in the airdrop. So I haven't really gotten around to looking into buying some for myself,
Okay.
but might be interesting.
Yeah, so Moss just opened up liquidity mining. You can provide Moss single sided. You can provide an LP Moss USDC, or you can provide a. Wait, what's the difference in MCO2 and USDC? I see. My eyes
Yeah,
deceive me.
so essentially what they're doing is for people that haven't been LPs or liquidity providers in these automated market makers like Sushi or Uniswap, the general idea is if you put up liquidity, what this means is you put up some carbon in like the MCO2 to USDC case, and you put up some dollars, and you say, hey guys, you can use my carbon and my dollars to make exchanges. I want some fees out of that. There are some downsides, as anyone that's done LPing in DeFi has found out. You can lose a lot of money this way because you will over time own more of the resource that is cheaper compared to the other one. So like the dynamics is hard. So another layer on top of this is what we call liquidity mining or yield farming or other terms like this, which is I am as a project, I realized liquidity is very important to me. And I don't have enough money to just like outright buy a bunch of liquidity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rent liquidity instead. And how this renting looks like is I say, hey, if you come over here and you lock up some dollars and some carbon in my system and you allow trades to happen, in addition to you getting trading fees, I'm going to pay you in my governance token, for instance, in Moss's case. And they pay you in the governance token, and that's like an additional form of revenue that you can then reinvest into your LP position or sell or whatever you want.
There you go. It's a very good explanation of LP. If you want to avoid the risk of impermanent loss, they do give you the option of just doing single-sided loss, and that would inure you from the risk of impermanent loss. Typically, those pools do yield a lower APY or APR because there isn't as much risk. There's not you don't need to incentivize people to join those pools.
Yeah, it's you're incentivizing people to hold, and it's a trade-off because on the other hand, if you're just incentivizing people to hold, it makes your governance token a bit cheaper because it's a bit easier to get in like some other ways. So it's like a give and take in tokenomics of like you're creating more supply, are you creating more demand? If you're not, the token's a bit cheaper.
Agreed. So there you have it. Take a look at that. I'll leave a link to that. Then we've got my friends at gwamilabs.klima. This is the project that gave you the Klima name service, similar to the Ethereum name service, and their application to the Gitcoin grant GR14, that round has been approved and it is live now. This I do mention this because one, it's just a personal relationship of mine, and I think it shows that again, people are building in this space. We're still seeing projects going forward. We're still seeing people who are really dedicated to the space making progress. What are your thoughts on the Klima name service, Rez?
I think it's really cool that more projects get their own name service, like the underlying service, which is like Rebel Lab something.
Yes.
Like I find that idea like super cool, and getting more of this value to particularly like on a protocol level of, hey, you're a community, you get your own domain, you get your own way of addressing each other in like your apps. That's like super cool. And we need more of that because at the end of the day, addresses suck. Like
Yes.
the long numbers and letters that you have to type in, and you have to figure out if that's somebody you know or if that's just a random address. Not always very easy. So just the user experience improvement of having like, you know, these kind of domains instead of addresses is great. I mean, that's early age of the internet. People were typing in IPs to connect to websites, and you know that didn't make a lot of sense either. I don't think it makes a lot of sense in our case as well.
Right. I mean, this is a network of humans ultimately, and humans do not want to put in alphanumeric chains that are whatever 15 characters long. We want things that we're familiar with, such as words,
words.
Yeah, words, and yeah, the user experience is not trivial. Don't think of these things as trivial. This is actually these are the sorts of things that will provide adoption to the masses.
Yeah.
If the internet was still that we had to put in IP addresses to connect it, nobody would ever do it, right?
Yeah, write down your IP addresses on a piece of paper so you would like know where you're going, right? That doesn't make any sense.
Makes no sense. So very cool stuff there. Go check that out. Good people over there. I can personally vouch for them. Speaking of good people, what about good birds? What about the toucan? As you know, in America we say toucan, and across the pond in the UK they say toucan.
Toucan.
Like two cans versus toucan. And anyway.
Okay, I'm on team toucan.
I'm on team toucan. I like toucan. I like saying
toucans.
Yeah. Toucan.
The toucans.
Toucan. Yeah, it's the best.
This is the best part of the podcast. It's just us saying toucan
over and over again. When I learned that people in the UK said toucan like toucan, I was just saying it in my head all day for like a week, trying to work out which one I liked better. I like the British pronunciation, the received pronunciation, if you will.
Yeah.
So here's the story: is toucan or toucan is providing an opportunity to get whitelisted for Lens, and you would be a very good person to ask about this. I think you explained it once to me prior. What's your explanation of Lens and the graph that it is?
Yes. So currently, if you have a Facebook account and you have a Twitter account, you have all of these accounts, and you maybe have an email account or something like this. You don't necessarily have the same list of contacts or the same like group of friends that can be accessible on any of these services. And if you really like Twitter and wanted to move to like a competitor or some other social media, you would inevitably have to disconnect from your existing like social circle in order to switch services, which is annoying. So what Lens is it's a distributed social graph, and what that means is your list of friends who you're connected with. You own that instead of other people, and you own your content that you make there. The very cool element of this is other protocols can now come in there and build their own social media on top of it, and you can get all of the value of your one social media service in another social media service. So there's this like really healthy competition happening instead of creating these silos of we want to protect this value, because at the end of the day, the claim by social media sites that we kind of get to own your social network, it's not cool.
It
I don't
isn't
know.
cool, yeah. And people are catching on. I think we were ignorant and complacent for a while, and part of that is just because we're ignorant and complacent by default, and then we got reasons to care once we saw some of the malevolence, some of the intentions of these large social media companies. They did
Yeah.
not have our best interest. They were clearly violating our privacy. They were clearly doing things that weren't in our best interest, and I think people
Yeah.
now are forced to care more about where they're sharing their
Yeah.
information. Yeah.
Exactly. It's the cost of the cost of switching is so high that these kind of social media services generally become monopolies in their own right, because they have like a way too outsized control, and also they get to get rid of competitors this way. Because the competitor would need to get people in, start building content, start getting people. Whereas the Lens approach essentially just lowers the barrier to entry to be a social media site, because you can very easily attract and integrate with other social media sites. So you get to have this like nice contained experience while still building on this, like, I would say, it's almost like a public good. I think it might literally be a public good. You're building on this public good of a social graph that your users own, not you.
Perfectly said. So the way that Toucan went about this, we're a little late to the party actually today, but it was you either send 15 plus NCT or one wrap stake Klima, which is approximately $45 USD to an address, and then you'd be whitelisted. But if you get a whitelist, if you have access to a Lens, you can be friends with Toucan on Lens, and hopefully more protocols go that way, because I think Lens is super cool, and I am excited to see what becomes of it. There's been a lot of attempts at decentralized social media. Some have been notorious, some are infamous, right? I think someone's going to get it right, and it's going to revolutionize everything, because who wants Meta to own your information? Like, who in their right mind would want that?
Pass. Thanks. Pass.
Are you
Not
on
for
the
me.
social media?
Maybe. Yeah, I am, but I've been trying to move over as much as I can into things that I think respect my data a bit more,
Yeah.
and because at the end of the day, if you're not paying, you're probably the product.
Well, for certain, you are the product. Yeah, I hardly post on social media. I post on Twitter though, so I'm a hypocrite there. Okay.
Yep, none of us can avoid the crypto Twitter. Crypto Twitter is the home of spicy opinions and shitposting.
And I love both. So not a shit post, not even a spicy opinion. Well, this is not even a spicy opinion, I wouldn't say, but we had that Gitcoin video last week or week and a half ago, and there is a Giveathon happening today. I'll release this video. It'll be all day today. Trace will be doing this. It's a Giveathon. It's a community-driven all-day Twitter space being held today. 50 plus grantees will get 10 minutes to pitch their grant, and I have a list of them here. So if you want access to this, I will leave a link to this as well. And yeah, there you have it. I will be on that Twitter space later today as well.
I was hosting a few hours ago.
Look at you go. So
yes,
there's always going to be builders, and you're one of them, Rez, and it's always a pleasure to do this. It's good to surround yourself with people who aren't
100%.
what's the word? Discouraged, optimistic.
Yeah.
There's
Well, yeah, exactly. If you stop doing what you're doing because of macro conditions,
yeah, you're not gonna
you
make
know,
it.
yeah, I mean, like, you can't control macro conditions. You can't control if you want to build or not. And like sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's easier, and it's like very tragic that we're in a state where I think like getting money is very hard.
It is. Yeah.
But on the other hand, this is a fantastic moment to set up a Gitcoin grants round and get some Gitcoin money. I
Right.
mean,
Or
that's
get
the point.
at the very. This is what, like, my mentality on this. At the very least, this is an opportunity for you to get really good at pitching, because
Yes.
it's going to get really hard for you to get that money. But imagine you get these skills, you know how to build a pitch deck, you know how to prioritize what these VCs want. We're going to get back into that more bullish sentiment sooner rather than later, and you're going to be bulletproof. You're going to be heads and shoulders above everybody else who didn't want to put the work in now, right? So it's like resistance.
Exactly.
It's resistance training, lift 100
Yeah.
pounds. So when you have to lift 20, you can throw it through the roof or whatever it is. Or
Yeah, exactly. Hard times create strong people, and
completely agree.
strong people create good times, and then good times create weak people.
What do you benching? What are you benching these days? No, we'll get there.
I just went to the gym for the first time over the weekend in a year. So
I was gonna say you're looking kind of swole these days. That's the secret. It's a whole new you. This is amazing.
yeah, whole new me, summer me, Estonian summer res.
Summer
That's the
res.
vibe now.
That's the
Yeah,
hashtag
summer.
on this recording.
Yeah,
All
hashtag
right.
summer res.
Let's get into some of the more macro TradFi things. So energy executives urge near-term transition solutions and supply crunch. This is Res Happy or Res Saz. The gist of this is that
Yes.
there has been a call by energy executives at a Reuters conference on last Wednesday to accelerate the change to more environmentally friendly practices by 2030. Only 8 years away. Res Happy, Res Sad.
Res super happy. Like as we both have been discussing in every single episode that gives a timeline. If your timeline is anything over 2030, you might as well not make it. We'll be dead by then. Thank you. I mean, do something now.
That's it.
Please do something.
You heard
now.
it. We're all dead by 2030 unless this takes off. Is that financial advice? Yes.
Not financial advice.
That's
not
life
advice.
No, that's really cool. And this is the first article I've actually seen. They've all been like, we're going to pledge by 2035, 2040, 2050. My thing with 2050 is why even bother?
Yeah.
I mean, no one's going to remember that you even made the pledge in 2050.
Yeah, I think this is a classic example of like a textbook virtue signal, in the sense of we're saying that we have values, but we're not acting on them. It's there's like no value acting happening. It's just we're saying we have these values, no proof,
No proof.
but we're saying it.
Yes, agreed. So good article to start it off. Res Happy or Sad, Germany's solar power generate more power than ever before. The context of this is that Germany has hit a new high with megawatts, 36,848. This was last week because Germany is in a Europe
Heat wave.
Heat wave, yeah.
Yes.
Res Happy, Res Sad.
This is a hard one, right?
Pick one.
I think like Res happy because at least the heat wave gave the opportunity for solar to force out less clean energy sources for a week, so that's nice.
So we figured this. I think we figured out the feedback loop that we need.
Yeah.
We pollute the world.
Yeah, exactly.
We pollute the world. We raise the temperature. We create
Heat waves,
waves, and then we put solar down and we profit. So it was all part of the plan, man.
Yeah, it's like one of those troll comics from the year 2012. It really has those kind of vibes.
It's like a magnet pulling itself.
Good vibes.
It is good because it could be worse, right? We could be polluting the planet, creating heat waves, and not capturing the energy of the sun. So,
yeah, and at the end of the day, come on, get some clean energy, especially in Europe.
Yeah.
Geopolitically, we need a lot of clean energy.
Yes, and we have a very good
The
opportunity
alternative
right now because we're being forced to, Germany in particular, lots of European nations, which you've brought up and I brought up, are undergoing a squeeze of energy because of the Ukraine-Russia thing. They're not buying fossil fuels from Russia out of principle, which is wonderful, but that creates an energy squeeze, which is why gas is up all over the world. I just drove by a pump the other day, Rez, $5 American. That is that is probably the highest I've ever seen in my life. I know it's
What
higher
was
in
it
Europe.
like last year around the same time?
It's a good question. Probably closer to 250, 250 and 3. It's doubled.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Europe it's even higher. It always is in
Mm,
Europe. But
mm.
instead of recreating this dependence on fossil fuels from a foreign entity, one way to become more energy independent, and I'm not even saying fully energy independent, just more,
Yeah.
would be renewables,
Exactly.
and
You
or
know,
nuclear, which I love.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, slowly becoming nuclear
I
shields
am, man.
over multiple episodes, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's true. Like the more you learn about it, the more you're like, maybe people have just feelings about it for like less reasons than we thought.
Yeah, I mean it's the thing. Not to go out into a nuclear shill right now, and I totally
Yeah.
accept there are issues with it, and I totally accept I don't
There
even
are.
know what I'm talking about fully. There's people way more knowledgeable than I am, but it is viable right now, and it doesn't put. It's not going to heat the world with greenhouse gases. It has its own issues with waste management, etc., but it won't heat the world with greenhouse gases. We have a viable energy source right now that is powerful, relatively inexpensive, that won't heat the world with greenhouse gases. It's called nuclear
Yes.
energy. But
Yeah, and it doesn't, well, at the end of the day, coal plants also have a waste issue. All goes into the air, so
that's right.
most of it goes into the air. So you just pretend it doesn't exist.
And
It does.
that's a good
There's a lot of
point because if you think, again, not to shill nuclear, but you just made me think of something. So nuclear's waste gets sequestered in vaults underground, etc., right? And we think of this as a major problem, but let's think about what happens when we burn fossil fuels. To your point, we have the problem of having to retrieve it first, and then what ultimately do we do with it? We sequester it in the ground
yes,
or in whatever,
yeah.
you know.
Bury it. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we
I
either
mean, we
bury
need to
it.
store it. Yeah, exactly. We need to figure out a new way to store it anyway. Like we took something out of the ground, we burned it, we recaptured it, then we buried it back in.
Right.
That's such a vibe.
Right. It is such a vibe. All right. So anyway, that's
Yeah.
two Res Happies in a row. Here's the next story.
Yes.
The SEC war on greenwashing has begun. The context of this is that there are many investment vehicles, indices, funds that are being offered by hedge funds, Wall Street brokerages that claim to be ESG. And the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, is now beginning a war on these claims. Is Res happy or sad?
Res very happy.
Ooh,
Greenwashers get fucked. That's
greenwashers.
I don't think that's surprising for anyone that's watched this podcast for multiple weeks. I do not like when financial institutions lie about their investment portfolios being green. What do you get out of it? You just like short term, yes, you lie, but long term, you're just gonna get clapped by the SEC. Like what is the ultimate value you're getting here? It's just maybe short term you're gonna get to mislead someone, but it's not worth it. It's not even worth it economically. Like what are you doing? Come on.
It never ceases to amaze me the short-term greed that exists. Like these aren't,
Yeah.
if you know anything about the people who work in these sectors, they're not dumb people. They must know this. I just think there's we use this word a lot, perverse incentives,
Yeah.
maybe for someone to give return to a shareholder, and this is any trick that they can think of, right?
Yeah, or maybe you're like a financial institution worker whose bonuses depend on how many people are investing in like the portfolio you're responsible for, and then you figure out that hey, if I say it's ESG compliant, my bonus gets bigger, and yeah, you get to do that once, but then you go to jail. So
Right.
is that good? I don't know.
I don't know, man. It is thievery to some degree. So yeah, good. Three res happies in a row. Let's do the fourth. Let's see if we can get the fourth in a row. ESG funds resist worst of downturn, but investors are spooked. So the context of this is all the markets are down. Clearly, TradFi, crypto, real estate, you name it. And so we're looking at how funds, how these like indices are doing and these macro markets, everything's down, but the ESG is down less percentage wise relative to non ESG markets. What are your thoughts on this? Happy or sad, first of all, and then give me your thoughts.
Well, obviously happy. I think there's a clear demonstration that ESG compliant companies just generally do better because I think they have more trust, actually, even by their own investors. At the end of the day, uh, I find this so interesting that in a normal corporation, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to optimize for shareholder value. That is the ultimate thing you're supposed to do. ESG is ruining shareholder value. It's like on paper, you'd think that this is a bad thing from the perspective of an investor, but it turns out the investors have morals and ethics and like really weird stuff that's not necessarily related to profits directly. And they don't want to put their money into things that optimize per shareholder value at the expense of everyone else. That's not good. So at the end of the day, I think this is a clear demonstration that society is at least getting a handle on the worst parts of capitalism, but it's just very slow, and we'll get there eventually.
Well said. It is my fundamental belief that people are selfish, but people also have a built-in mechanism for reciprocity, that we understand the importance of sustainable systems and we understand the importance of fairness, right? So, and there's a lot of research to show this. Young children who play with each other tend to understand that if they're playing a game for fun and one child is beating the other child constantly, this is like inborn that the one who's the victor will let up a little bit. You know, it won't be a 50-50 shot. And it's a really simple reason why is there's actually self-interest in that. Like if you and I are playing a game and I keep beating you like terribly, you're going to stop playing with me.
It becomes not fun because I know how it'll end. You know,
Right.
There's like this kind of an element here. But I like that companies need to be more accountable to everyone else that aren't just shareholders, because at the end of the day, that's kind of what ESG means. That's what a B Corp is. A benefit corporation, a company that has in its bylaws of what is it supposed to do, in addition to maximize shareholder value, you have make sure we're not making things worse for other people, and maybe our employees should be treated humanely, and maybe we don't work with sweatshops and stuff like this.
Right. Well, there's some good news right there. All right, Rez, we've done it. Another week, another roundup. Some cool stuff happening. Giveathon's coming
and I have advice.
Go ahead.
In the bear market, the best thing you should be hodling if you're in ReFi are your values and your being, you as a person. Hodl that. That's the best investment you can make always. And the rest of it, it'll go up and down, but we'll get back to like a nice place eventually. Yep. It's more about patience.
100% agree. Surround yourself with people who are optimistic, who are productive, generative, aren't feeling sorry for themselves, aren't gloom and doom. The opportunity is out there. These markets change. This is when you make money, man. I mean, if you're money centric, this is actually a time you should be excited about. If you're
also not financial advice.
None of this is financial advice. If you're environmentally centric, this is also the time when we're going to see the best projects spring forth. My final question to you: you went to the gym today. What are you benching these days?
Oh God, I don't want to answer that. It's like 45 kilograms. It's not a lot, dude.
That's good. 45 kilograms is like what? A little over 100 pounds. 2.2 kilograms for a pound.
We'd have to Google that, but yeah.
245 times 2.2. I think that's how many pounds it would be. Maybe around 100.
I think that's 99 pounds.
There you go. Were you repping that?
It's not much.
Or were you maxing
10.
that? Oh, that's
no,
good.
that's like 10 times 3. But yeah, I mean, haven't been to the gym in a year. I mean, I need to work on my bench.
We're going to keep track of this. Every week I'm going to ask you what you're benching. This is important to
Maybe me. Like once a month. I don't think the progress is going to be that rapid, but feel free to ask.
It's important, man. You got to get swole.
It's getting swole.
It's summertime.
Getting swole for crypto winter. That's the plan, baby.
It's summer res and crypto winter. Something's going to give, man.
Yeah, I mean, time to start a bulk phase.
Agreed. All right. Catch you all in the next one. Peace, dudes and dudettes. Above all else, remember to ape responsibly.
Peace.
You got the last word today. I didn't like that.